Hi, this is Jeff Richards, Columbus, Ohio. You're listening to BBQ Central.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners.
But listen, Libertius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
All right, just like that, we are into the second hour. Welcome to the BBQ Central Show. Here we are, talking about live fire stuff. We do it on Tuesdays live from 9 to 11. You can get it in podcast fashion starting on Wednesdays, hour number 1, and then hour number 2 on Thursdays. Still to come on this show, what I'm calling the Hall of Fame Roundtable. Daniel Vaughn from Texas Monthly Barbecue, Adrian Miller, the soul food scholar, and Ray Lampe, Dr. Barbecue, will be in to discuss at length and detail the semifinalists for this year's Barbecue Hall of Fame, the class of 2020. There are 9 folks that are on that list, and 3 of them will make up the class. We will have an exclusive show coming up on the 27th of May. That's a Wednesday. We will have it at 3 p.m. Eastern like we did this past Wednesday. And once again, we will announce live.
We'll do it live. Okay.
The Barbecue Hall of Fame class at that point. Very exciting. Emily Park will be back with me. Don't forget, you can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and TikTok / BBQ Central Show on Facebook, where you can also find a video feed of this show as well. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this Friday. Believe it or not, we're going into 124 episodes. Holy moly. Rapidly becoming the 3rd or 4th longest running live fire podcast that covers solely this show. Nothing else. It's one of the longest running shows in the space about this show. That's weird to say. It's really the truth. It's weird to say. We're taking you back to May 14th of 2013, so almost 7 years to the day. And do you love burgers? Hamburgers? Yes, of course you love hamburgers. In fact, we had hamburgers for dinner tonight, believe it or not. In the Best Moments show, I visited with Andy Husbands, who I personally have a man crush with. He was just on the show, right before all of this disease landed on us. We were talking about his latest book. This is back in 2013. It was called Wicked Good Burgers. Maybe some of you or most of you have this book. Fabulous book. Hugely successful commercially. He co-wrote that with his pal Chris Hart, who happens to be the pitmaster of a little barbecue team called IQ. I'll say legendary pitmaster. It's still widely considered to be one of the best burger cookbooks that are out there. And the content has stayed incredibly relevant to this day because, well, it's burgers. Hard to beat a well-executed burger. In fact, I would make the argument that the simpler the burger, and take into account method and seasoning and toppings and all of that other stuff, the simpler the burger, the better the burger is. Not always the case with other dishes, but definitely true in burgers' case. You can get crazily obnoxious with burgers. putting all these toppings and making all these extravagant blends. Now, certainly there have been proven blend winners, but sometimes people just go nuts. But few things in life are as satisfying as a good burger. In fact, I will drive for a good burger. I won't drive for a lot of things. You know what? I won't drive for most things. We know that. I will drive for a good burger. I love burgers. There's a place on West. Who goes west? East 200th Street, right here in East Cleveland. It's called Stevenson's. It used to be only 5 minutes from here on Lakeshore, but like one day the whole place was gone. There's a whole thing I don't even want to get into. But they bought a different bar up the road on 200th Street, right by the highway. This place has the best freaking flat top hamburger. I defy anybody to show me and have me taste a better burger than the one at Stevenson's. And by the way, very affordable, not crazy. And I've had burgers everywhere. I went to Chicago and had a day of burger eating. Now, some of the best burgers I've ever had there as well. The burger at Au Cheval was almost life-changing. I had a burger at the Billy Goat, which is where cheeseburger came from. I had a burger there. I had to have a burger. How could you be? I was walking past there for 3 days. And I'm like, how can I walk past here one more time and not eat one of these freaking cheeseburgers? It would be sacrilege. I couldn't possibly have. I left Chicago not eating in a number of places. No Italian beef sandwiches, none of that. Didn't get one. No deep dish pizzas.
Get that big stuff out of here.
But I was not going to walk by the Billy Goat one more time and be able to live with myself. So I just rolled right in, walked down the stairs, and had a cheeseburger. What do you want? What does anybody else get here? It's a cheeseburger. And Coke, no Pepsi. Or Pepsi, no Coke, or whatever the line is off the Saturday Night Live. Smokin' Joe's Barbecue Pit weighing in the instant chat. White Castle is not a burger. Who said I ever ate a White Castle burger?
Get that big stuff out of here.
Austin Carr has never been so right at the end of that drop. Get that weak stuff out of here. Just because Joey Chestnut can plow 748,000 Crystal burgers in 10 minutes, which are a White Castle equivalent, that's not my kind of burger. I'm not going to discriminate. If you like White Castle burgers, eat them all day long. They're gross. They're weird looking. They're steamed. If you like steamed meat, doesn't that sound bad? Steamed meat. The buns are steamed. The onions, I hate onions anyway. They're not nearly cooked enough. For me to even touch an onion, it has to be hard grilled or sauteed until it is dark brown, like sweet. If it even remotely resembles anything raw, if there's any texture to it,
Get that big stuff out of
get
here.
it out. I don't want any part of it. Raw onion is the devil's candy, and so's pumpkin. Oh, it's the gross. God, I hate it. Let me get back to this whole Barbecue Hall of Fame thing, too, by the way. As Guy the Cooking Sam is Greg Get Off My Lawn guy. Get ready to get more off my lawn, Sam. I saw a lot of this going around on Thursday last week after we had the exclusive live,
We'll do it live.
announcement of the 9 semifinalists. Oh, how come X person isn't nominated? Oh, so-and-so should be on that list. Oh, no. That 9 is fine and all, but you left this person out. They really belong. Let me ask you a question. Well, first of all, let me make a statement. You must know. If you listen to this show, that unlike any other Hall of Fame, this Hall of Fame, the Barbecue Hall of Fame, actually goes to the general public and ask for ideas. That's ridiculous.
Big stuff out of here.
No Hall of Fame should be asking. The general public is a dangerous public, if it's one thing I know. But they do. So don't post on my Facebook or on my Twitter or on any of that about how you don't like the 9. Hey, dumbass, did you nominate anybody? No? Shut up.
Get that big stuff out of
Shut
here.
up. If you are being asked to put in a name, put in whoever the hell you want. You want Speedy from McDonald's? Vote for Speedy. Make a case. You have the option. You could put whoever you want. Oscar Mayer. Put him in. They're all talked about. That's the beauty. I mean, it's the worst thing and the best thing about asking the general public. They have to talk about it. They have to. So don't bitch and moan about the list that's been generated if you haven't participated in the nomination. Shut up. Now, if you didn't know, now you know for next year. I'm not yelling at you, but I'm yelling at all the rest of you people that knew that. I mean, that's so lame. Know the rules. All right. Soon we'll be picking up on the Barbecue Hall of Fame Roundtable. I'll talk to you quickly about the folks over at Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking supplies. We'll get you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers has been Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself. They have 13 perfectly balanced flavors of rub and seasonings like Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, Regular Money, Double Secret Steak Rub, Desert Gold. I love Little Louis seasoned salt myself. Got a nice hint of black pepper. Now, they also have a sauce. They own Granny's barbecue sauce. So if you're looking for a great go-to sauce that's a little different than the rest out there, give Granny's a try. Can be used as a base sauce where you can tweak, or it's great all on its own. You don't have to tweak if you don't want to. Aside from the premium selection of rubs and sauces, they also offer the very best pellet, charcoal, and wood cookers available today. Are you looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use? Check out the Mac 2-Star General Pellet Grill. Big Papa Smokers, the exclusive Mac dealer. They even offer special packages. Not a fan of pellet smokers? Try the Old Hickory Ace BP, the only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trail. If you're not sure of what kind of smoker you need, you really can't go wrong with anything listed on the website. Give them a call and ask questions. 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or shop the website, bigpopsmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We are back with the Hall of Fame Roundtable. Daniel Vaughn, Adrian Miller, and Dr. Barbecue Ray Lampe. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Monthly visits from a killer hog, a cooking guy, a man named Meathead, the author of Barbecue Bible, a grill girl, a bristly barbecue journalist, and the malfeasance of the barbecue world known as the embedded correspondents. Only found right here on the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Currently available in 2 different sizes with a host of accessories. Whether you're a beginner or professional, definitely a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you right there in Louisville, Kentucky. All right, as you heard on the exclusive announcement here this past Wednesday on a live show.
We'll do it live. Okay.
The 9 semifinalists have been announced, and folks are eagerly giving their opinion on which 3 should be going in over the next handful of weeks to make up the class of 2020. Here to discuss the list and give thoughts on them are the initial, give them thoughts on the final 9 and the initial big list of names. quite a distinguished and accomplished panel I have accumulated here. Joining me, the soul food scholar, Adrian Miller, the first full-time barbecue journalist in the country, Daniel Vaughn, and, of course, a guy who is already in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, Ray Lampe, Dr. Barbecue, all joining me here. So let me get everybody's audio up here, and I think that gets us all on. Guys, let me go ahead and, welcome you in.
All right, so, Greg, who's got your vote? Who would your top three be out of this list?
Dude, let's ease into this date. Let's not just jump right into bed, Daniel. I mean, holy crap.
I mean, come on. That's what it's all about, right?
Wow, I guess we know how you watch. All right. So closing out the first hour, I spoke with the hosts of the Pitmasters podcast, Anthony Lujan and Rusty Monson, who both competed in an SCA event in their home state of Utah. Just your summary thoughts here. Are you guys surprised that there was a competition, and what are your thoughts on having that stuff start to potentially roll out across the country? Daniel, your thoughts on that?
Wow. Would I want to sit at a judge's table not quite knowing how that food was treated before it arrived to me? I don't know. I mean, I guess, these days, the big argument here in Texas is now that we have a lot of our dining rooms opened up, are you willing to go eat inside a restaurant? Are you willing to go sit inside a dining room and get your food? And a lot of people are a little wary about that for health purposes. But, the other part of that is, like, if we're okay getting takeout, that's still a lot of trust that you're putting in a kitchen. And I guess that's the same level of trust you'd have to be putting into to any food that shows up at a judge's table, except the one problem is if you're at a restaurant, you know who served it to you. If you're at a judge's table, not so much.
Ray, your thoughts on competition starting to roll out in some form at this point?
Well, I mean, it's like everything else. I had this conversation with my neighbor today. Everybody's got to do what they think is right now. I'm doing what I think is right, and everybody else needs to do the same thing. And God bless them. I hope we're all right. I hope nobody's wrong on these decisions. But I'm not going to judge anybody right now, and I hope they don't judge me.
Adrian, your thoughts on competitions rolling out?
Yeah, I guess as long as they can do it safely, I'm open to the idea. But like Ray, I'm a little skeptical. But if they can be safe, let's do it.
All right. We are here talking with, and by the way, we do have Adrian back up and running here, so that's great. We have Adrian Miller, Daniel Vaughn, Ray Lampe joining me here on the show. We're here to talk about the 9 semifinalists on the 2020 Barbecue Hall of Fame ballot. Before we start to break down the names and their significance to the live fire industry, I don't want to just assume that everybody knows who you guys are, as I gain new listeners all the time, and I just don't want to assume. We all love to think everybody knows us, of course. But can we take just a brief second, get a little background on each of you guys, how long you've been on the committee for the Barbecue Hall of Fame, and perhaps more importantly, what you feel you are bringing to that committee table in regards to knowledge, qualification, and all this stuff. So, Adrian, let's start with you.
All right, I'm Adrian Miller. I call myself the Soul Food Scholar. My tagline is dropping knowledge like hot biscuits. That's what I like to do. So I was born and raised in Denver, Colorado, which loses me all street cred on the subject of barbecue. But I've written a book on the history of soul food, Black Chefs in the White House, and now I'm writing a book on the history of African-American barbecue. Should be out in a year from now. And I've eaten barbecue joints all around the country. It's the tradition I grew up in. I've been on the committee this is about a year now. This is my second time going through the voting. And one of the things that I'm really interested in is just making sure that we have a diverse and inclusive Barbecue Hall of Fame that celebrates excellence as well.
Daniel Vaughn, your qualifications and quick background?
Wow, that's a big one right there. Well, I mean, this is an industry that I've studied since long before I even became barbecue editor. So as far as studying the names in the competition world, certainly more familiar with the restaurateur world, as well as the historical figures. So I feel like I'm well-rounded in, I guess, knowledge of all those different industries. And really when it comes down to it, we're all in a big committee here, and I feel like I'm pretty good at arguing as well, and that's half the fun.
Ray Lampe, who are you?
I just showed up here. I mean, I'm pretty well known, I think, for my background in the barbecue competition world. But, along with that came a obsession with barbecue, which covers so many things. So I accidentally became a pretty well-schooled historian on my own. Like I said, people think of me as a competition guy, but I wrote a book called Barbecue Road Trip in 2004. And, so I've been studying this thing from all sides for a long time. And I'm the new guy on the committee, and it's quite an honor to be included with these guys. Like I said, I think of myself as a cook, but and I think of these guys as the guys who are writing and doing all the research and stuff, and it's kind of fun to be included with them.
Ray, do you think it is important for, if it wasn't you, if it was somebody of your ilk to be in this committee, so it's not just a bunch of guys that are well-versed on the history and the culture, but somebody who has also been on the cooking portion? Not saying these guys don't cook, but, from a competition side, and who are seeing it from a different perspective.
Well, I think I'll let the other guys comment on it, but I think there were people on the list that I was more familiar with than the other panelists, just because I've lived in that world maybe. And the more of us, Adrian said diversity, and I'm a huge proponent of that. I've been a little bit involved with the Barbecue Hall of Fame since its inception. Mike Tucker and Ray Basso were good friends of mine when they started it, and I've always felt diversity was going to make it viable. And I mean, black people, white people, fat ones, skinny ones, Texans and Carolinians, and men and women, and you name it. I mean, every single possible angle of diversity needed to happen, and I think we've done a pretty good job. So hopefully I bring a little bit of that to the table too.
Daniel,
I may just be the fat white guy, so I'm not very fit in many diverse classes, but I sure do like a lot of diverse folks.
Daniel, do you think it's good to have somebody of Ray standing on that committee to bring his point of view?
Well, I mean, absolutely. I was going to stop you before and say it sounds like you're saying Ray's not cultured, which I'd have to argue with. No, it was actually really refreshing to have Ray's input. We've got lots of folks here on the list who are from the restaurant side, which I am well versed in, but a lot of folks from the competition side that maybe I wasn't as well versed in. I mean, I'll say right now that Bill Arnold wouldn't be on the list without Ray's input really filling us in on his importance. It's not somebody who is incredibly well known from stacking up all the wins and grand championships in competitions like Tuffy Stone, who's already in the Hall of Fame, and Darren Warth, who's on the list here. It was somebody who had a real contribution to competition barbecue that maybe isn't as obvious as putting big trophies up there. And really, I think without Ray's input, I think none of us would have been as well educated on really what he brought to the game.
Adrian, your thoughts on having a guy like Ray on the panel this time around?
Yeah, I'm just going to echo Daniel because I didn't know a lot about the competition finalists or the nominations. So Ray was very helpful in kind of sorting that out. So I'm glad to have him in the mix.
All right, guys. So let's talk a little bit.
Let me say, hang on,
go.
Greg. I want to say something about that. I am happy to carry the torch for the competition guys, and I asked at the beginning of the meeting if that was my position there. But I can tell you, and I hope these guys will back me up, I question the competition guys too. When we talk about diversity, I also want to see a diverse career for these Hall of Fame guys, and just winning a bunch of trophies doesn't cut it for me. It can be an important part, but you got to do some other stuff too.
All right, so let's talk about the Hall of Fame here just for a second and its history for a bit. And you might find it hard to believe, guys, but there are some folks out there who have no idea that there was a Barbecue Hall of Fame, that it even existed. Can't believe it. Even if there's no physical place, they didn't even know that there was a Barbecue Hall of Fame. So, Ray, you alluded to it a couple minutes ago, and you probably know more about the history of the Barbecue Hall of Fame prior to the American Royal getting its hands on it. So, best to your recollection, how was it born, and how and who were the folks that originally installed this?
Yeah, well, Ray Basso, who had the original BBQ forum, starts in, I think, 95. And back in the day, there was nowhere else to hang out. We didn't have Facebook and all that. And So a lot of barbecue guys were made friends there. And Mike Tucker from Hog Eyes Barbecue up in right outside of Des Moines, Ankeny, Iowa. Mike was always a big proponent. Mike would always fund these crazy projects. So they bought whatever the website that they use is, and they started the Barbecue Hall of Fame online. And those are now known as the legacy candidates or the legacy members. When they sold it, or there was a transaction that they gave it to the American Royal, and the intention was to take it to the next level. I don't know why the American Royal always considers those members different than everybody else, but they do, and that's what that's all about. But it's been a good thing. We started way too late, man. This thing needed to start 50 years ago, and I think we're getting there. But when you look at that list, there's just so many people that do belong in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, and it's going to take a while to get caught up. That's what I think. We just started way too late.
Adrian, we have been we've seen some of the biggest evolutions of the hall since it has transitioned from the online entity that Ray was talking about to the American Royal taking over. What do you think some of the biggest changes that you've seen over that time frame are?
So, just getting it started and rolling has been good. I do quibble, though, about the diversity. I don't think we have enough, especially African Americans, represented in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, which is one reason why I got involved. But I think that it's starting to show a nice spread of diverse styles and different genres within barbecue. So I think that's good. But like Ray said, we have a lot of work to do still. But I want to see more people of color in the Barbecue Hall of Fame and more women, just have that represented.
Daniel, given the items that have taken place over the past few years, last 2 years especially, given the willingness to show transparency by the American Royal, putting names to committee members, letting the public see the semifinalists and so on, what, in your opinion, could still be improved as you look ahead into the next, 2, 3, 4 years of classes?
Well, I mean, one of the main things that could be improved is just the number of nominations that we get in. And so the reactions that you see from people immediately after these semifinalist lists come out. Well, what about this person? What about that person? Unless we have that name in front of us to look at during that nomination process, they're not going to be considered. And if you don't turn in a nomination of someone who you really believes belongs in the Hall of Fame, then how are we going to talk about them? How are they going to ever make it in there? So a little bit more of a sort of put up or shut up needs to happen from some of the naysayers. One of the things, though, that I think could really be improved is, and we've talked about it really bluntly in the nomination committee, is we've certainly seen better representation from a racial standpoint in the Hall of Fame, but the Barbecue Hall of Fame is still looking for that one African American who's still alive to accept their spot in the Hall of Fame, and so that's something that it's a possibility of changing this year. But so there's still some improvement. I think also just being able to, if we could look further back in history and really start rewarding some people who had a really big impact on barbecue just these days because maybe their contributions were long, long ago. Their names just aren't going to be really all that well known today. Finding ways to get them in the Hall of Fame.
Adrian, go ahead.
Yeah, just what Daniel said. I was going to say we've created this legacy category to just really take a look at those giants in barbecue who just aren't well known today. But in their time, they were legends.
All right, so let me ask a racially weird question here, and I'm glad I have Adrian here to ask it because you other two guys probably wouldn't be able to answer the right way. There is talk of diversity, and, I get it, but so is there a line or are there eggshells being walked around to where there is either a need to feel like you need to nominate a certain number of African Americans or women, or is that not brought up? Or, I want diversity like the next guy, but how is that done appropriately when you have such a vast array of names that you can really not account for because of how racially unjust the country was hundreds of years ago.
Right. So I don't think we go into it with a specific number in mind, but we're trying to just step back as we look at the nominations and try to find balance as we go through. And then the other thing that I think is important, we all want to have an inclusive Hall of Fame, but we also want people who represent excellence in barbecue. So we may have diverse nominations, but, you know, we frankly talk about, well, what has been this person's contributions to barbecue? Fortunately, there are a number of people of color and women who meet that threshold. But yeah, we're looking for inclusivity, but also excellence in barbecue. So I think part of it is a balancing measure. The legacy category is going to help in that sense because the committee is really working on that. So I think it's a lot of moving parts. Again, there's a whole lot of people who could be in the Hall of Fame, and we have a limited number of spots. So it's going to take some time, but I think we're going to make some serious strides in the next few years.
Go ahead, Ray.
As the new guy, I want to tell you my experience with this meeting that we did a couple weeks ago. And it was really, for one, I'll tell you that it was way more serious and way better than I somehow expected. Because of the lack of transparency in the past, we all had our questions. But one of the things I really felt about it was the whole group felt like we were shepherding the Barbecue Hall of Fame in its young life right now. So instead of saying, well, we need one black person and one girl and a guy from Alabama and a guy from Carolina, it was more about understanding that diversity in our list was going to make everything better. You know, I was disappointed last year when I wasn't part of it, but it was 3 old restaurateur guys, 2 of them that had passed already, and one that was too frail to make the trip. Well, that was not diversity at all. I mean, those are the ones we happened to vote for, but I think I took it as the whole group was really more interested in shepherding the whole project instead of saying we need one of these and one of these, and that made me feel really good about the whole thing.
Dan, do you have anything to add here before I go to break?
Well, I must admit that I'm not able to hear the responses of the other folks on the call, so I hope I'm not repeating anything. But one of the things we're also looking for, not just with diversity for males and females, and and racial diversity as well. We're looking at diversity across just different types of contributions, and so, we're, as you've noted before, the nomination committee is made up of lots of writers and authors. So we certainly don't want it to be just a whole list of writers and authors who are up for the nominations. But we also know that people who are on television and people who are restaurateurs are going to be more well known to the general public. So we feel like it's just as important to make sure that we have maybe lesser known names, including people who are certainly big in the competition world, who might not have as big a profiles because they haven't had a television show or a book or whatnot, but still have really important contributions to the barbecue community. So diversity takes many different shapes here.
All right, stand by, guys, here as I do a quick bit of business, and we'll come back and actually talk about the short list of 9 here. We're talking with Daniel Vaughn, Adrian Miller, and Dr. Barbecue Ray Lampe. Let me talk to you quickly about Southside Market and Barbecue. Established in 1882, Southside Market Barbecue is the oldest barbecue joint in Texas. They've been owned and operated by the same family for 3 generations. Offering premium Central Texas barbecue products, slow smoked over real wood, shipping, distributing, and manufacturing sausages for companies across the U.S., from food trucks to multi-chain restaurants. Southside Sausage can be on your menu, too. All meats are processed in the on-site USDA-inspected facility, a trusted partner with a focus on quality and authenticity. Wholesale options are available, shipping nationwide via FedEx. Food service distribution channels like Sysco, U.S. Foods, and Martin Foods. They're co-packaging capable from research and development to package completion. They can also follow your recipe or help you develop something brand new. Private label opportunities also available. Visit SouthsideMarket.com for more information. And here's the best part. When you're at SouthsideMarket.com, when you're loading up the cart with a whole bunch of good stuff, and you want 10% off your order, just enter promo code BBQ Central at checkout. That's BBQ CENTRAL, all one word in lowercase, BBQ Central for 10% off at southsidemarket.com. We're back to talk about the 9 semifinalists with Adrian Miller, Ray Lampe, and Daniel Vaughn right after this. Stick around.
Celebrating over 10 years of prolific and unparalleled live fire barbecue and grilling talk. And yes, it's still being done from Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show.
Hey, this portion of the show being brought to you by Smithfield. If you can find it throughout the grilling season, you can get recipes from Chris Lilly, Darren Worth, Ernest Cervantes, and Childs Cridlin with mouth-watering flavor and no artificial ingredients. Smithfield fresh pork, quite simply, some of the finest pork money can buy. It's the trusted choice of World Championship pitmasters for use at competitions and at home. Smithfield.com. All right, guys, thanks for hanging with me through the break here, and let's go ahead and talk about these 9 semifinalists. We'll just start in no particular order, by the way. I'll give the names, and we'll just go around the panel, and you guys can tell me, a little bit about what you feel about that person and perhaps why they are inclusive here into the 9 semifinalists. Name first one that I have is Oklahoma Joe Davidson. Daniel Vaughn, tell us about Oklahoma Joe and why he's on the list.
Just his contributions in many different fields, and his early contributions to the backyard barbecue pit making and turning his backyard barbecue pit business into something that was really going to start lots of backyard pit masters, sometimes careers, competition careers, restaurant careers, and then also his own successful restaurant career in opening up Oklahoma Joe's first in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and then later on in Kansas City, in what is now Kansas City Joe's Kansas City Barbecue. So for him, it was really about the fact that he's had big contributions in a couple different areas.
Ray, your thoughts on Oklahoma Joe?
Yeah, when I first started KCBS cooking in the early 90s, Joe was already there, and he was a rock star. He was the original rock star. He was selling barbecue pits all over the world and bringing the money to the cook-off, and brought a double-decker trailer and partying and bringing everybody along. He's a charming guy, and I mean, he's Oklahoma Joe. That name, everybody knows that name. Most folks don't know there's actually a guy. Joe was a big deal back in the day, and he's still at it. Joe is still doing team building stuff for Oracle, and I mean, he's done everything there is to do in the barbecue world.
Adrian, your thoughts on Joe?
Yeah, a great restaurateur. That's how I connect with him. And he's one of the few restaurateurs that people who aren't deep into barbecue have heard about his place. They may not know the name right away, but when they think about the Kansas City place, they're like, yeah, what's that place with the gas station and barbecue? That kind of thing. So I think it just shows his resonance across the country and that people connect to him.
All right, Adrian, let's stay with you for the next guy on the list. That's Bill Arnold.
Now, this is one person I did not know about, so I'm going to have to defer to my colleagues here.
All right, Ray, I know you know Bill, so go ahead and spill it.
Yeah, I know Bill well, and I was pretty passionate telling some of the guys that didn't know that much about Bill how much Blues Hog Barbecue changed the competition world. I mean, it more than any other product, certainly a taste product, it changed everything, and frankly moved then to retail, and is a very successful retail product too. Along with Bill just being a really interesting guy. But to me, what Bill's contribution is very much focused on the taste of Blues Hog and how it changed everything.
Daniel, your thoughts on Bill Arnold?
Yeah, I mean, Ray just made a great case about the fact of just how influential that barbecue sauce was in the competition world, and how it not only changed the fact that so many competition barbecue pitmasters were using that sauce, but also how many sauces have come after it that have really copied from that style and tried to somehow mimic what he was doing.
All right, next one on the list. Daniel, will stay with you since we ended with you. Somebody that you're fairly familiar with, a guy by the name of Aaron Franklin, by the way, is one of three back-to-back semifinalists that we'll talk about here on this list.
Yeah, I mean, just quite simply, I don't think there's another pitmaster restaurateur who has been more influential in barbecue in the world than Aaron Franklin.
Period.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, there's you travel the world, eat at barbecue joints who are trying to mimic American barbecue. And how'd you learn how to cook barbecue? Well, I got Aaron Franklin's book, or I watched Aaron Franklin's YouTube show, or I watched Aaron Franklin's television show, or, Aaron Franklin. That is, so many people use him as their inspiration, use the information that he puts out there as the tools that they use to cook with. I mean, so many of these restaurateurs, the only other way they would have been able to learn this is to come, say 20 years ago, they would have had to come work as an apprentice for someone. And now they can learn so much of it from all the information that Aaron Franklin puts out there. And, they can try and do it as well as he does. So it's kind of hard to match that quality. But, just the influence he's had, the incredible books that he's put out, and just the incredible popularity of his barbecue joint. I mean, there's just, to me, I don't know if there's anybody on this list that's more deserving than him, especially if you consider sort of what the world of barbecue is looking towards as an example of how to cook.
Adrian, your thoughts on Aaron?
Wow, that's pretty much a mic drop moment by Daniel. But yeah, he's one of the most recognized figures in barbecue. And, the other thing that I loved about him is often there's secrecy in the world of barbecue. And the fact that he's been so willing to share his knowledge, I think, is just a testament to what he's created. So, yeah, just very deserving.
All right, Ray, what do you think?
Yeah, no brainer. I mean, Aaron was the right guy in the right place at the right time, and he's taken full advantage of it and knocked it out of the park. Done everything right. I mean, everybody loves him. He does all the sharing. But let's think about the actual, what's on the table. This guy's written killer books that have sold through the roof. He's got the most popular barbecue restaurant in the world. He does videos that everybody watches. I mean, what more can he do? He goes around the world to food and wine events, and he's the most famous guy in the place. No brainer.
All right, Daniel, let me ask you a question in regards to this Aaron Franklin guy. Does he have any idea that there's even a Barbecue Hall of Fame?
Yeah, he knows there's a Barbecue Hall of Fame, but I can guarantee you he's not going to be out campaigning to try and get any votes to get into the Hall of Fame. It's just not his style.
I don't like to share personal text messages, but I shot him a quick note on Wednesday. I said, "Hey, you made the list again." And I quote his response, "Hey, that's neato." Classic. So, all right. So next up on the list is Desiree Robinson. Daniel, what can you tell us about Desiree?
I mean, just the embodiment of Memphis-style barbecue, and has shown just incredible longevity in doing it. And just any restaurateur who's able to stay around that long and help define the barbecue style of a city and of a very well-known barbecue style and being a Memphis style deserves consideration.
Adrian, your thoughts on Desiree?
Yeah, just a wonderful figure in barbecue. She has told me that a lot of people who come to town from Memphis in May will stop by her restaurant and say, "Hey, this is the best barbecue I've had all weekend. Why don't you compete?" And she really doesn't feel like she has anything to prove. The interesting thing is that she and her husband, who's died, she's a widow, lived in Denver for a time, and they actually ran a barbecue joint in Denver before going to Memphis because they said they couldn't find any good barbecue in Denver. So that hurt me. But the food is great. The Cornish hens, the barbecue spaghetti and bologna. And she's just I think an important figure in especially barbecue and also African American barbecue, which has this strong tradition of women carrying a restaurant through when their spouse, who maybe started the restaurant or co-founded it with them, dies. So, and you see that a lot across the country. So I think Desiree Robinson is the epitome of that.
Ray, Desiree?
Oh, I'm a huge fan. I first met her when I was writing that road trip book in the early 2000s, and she was, at the time, she was full on running the place. But if you ever have the chance back then, if you sat with Miss Desiree at the restaurant for a little while, her daughter was there working. The grandkids would come by. Bobby, the big grandkid, and Sean, now they run the restaurant. There was, the whole family was there, but she was the matriarch and she was in charge, and nobody was going to mess around. And those grandsons have all gone to college to get educations to know how to run the business of a barbecue restaurant. There's a lot more there than people even know, but on the surface is plenty for me. She's great.
All right, Ray, so let's stay with you and talk about John Marcus. He's on the list this year.
Yeah, I mean, John certainly has, much like Aaron, these guys changed the game. If John, all that whole legacy of Pitmaster shows, and I got a couple DVDs here from the early seasons. That all starts with John, and John was an executive producer till the end of the last show. Most of that would not have happened. Probably none of it would have happened without John. Again, it's kind of one-dimensional. John's become a pretty good cook, and he's helped a lot of us doing other things too. But that is one contribution, but it's a major one, man. It legitimized us all. All of a sudden, we weren't these goofy guys in the yard. We're still those goofy guys in the parking lot cooking barbecue, but we were on TV. And granted, it was an obscure station, especially in the early days, but it didn't matter. We wouldn't have had, because you notice what happened when John's show ended. Tell me where the new barbecue shows are.
That's right. Adrian, your thoughts on John?
Yeah, his like Ray said, his barbecue show, bent the barbecue universe to competition barbecue, and just really changed the game. And it was so influential beyond the world of even just television. So many people, I think, are interested and got into competition barbecue because of that show. And it created some stars. Myron Mixon. Yeah, Myron Mixon, and Tuffy Stone, and all these other names that maybe people didn't know outside the competition circuit. Now they know them. Mo Kason, just a number of figures.
Daniel, your thoughts on John Marcus?
Yeah, that show was just the one who started all those barbecue shows, and there might be too many of them these days. But the fact that nobody, I think, considered the fact that there could be a reality show based on competition barbecue until he did it. And then, just the influence he's had on backyard cooks too. Backyard cooks and those who are wanting to get into competition barbecue. How many backyard cooks do you think own, for better or worse, own something that you could put an injection into your brisket with before that show? Probably not too many.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Next one on the list is Rodney Scott, and we'll go to Adrian Miller to kick it off.
Yeah, Rodney Scott, he's just on a meteoric rise in the world of barbecue. And what I love about him is he's doing whole hog barbecue from South Carolina, which is not something you see a lot around the country, but I think he's trying to work on changing that. But I've been to his family's place in Hemingway, South Carolina. Now I've been to his place in Charleston, and the guy's just doing great stuff. He's a great guy. And I just think also, in addition to Aaron Franklin, he's won a James Beard Award for his barbecue. And they're the only two people who have done that. So I just think he's a very compelling figure in the world of barbecue, and can't wait to see what he does next.
Daniel, your thoughts on Rodney Scott?
Yeah, I think as far as the influence of Aaron Franklin has on brisket, Rodney Scott's got it on whole hog. He's doing it a little bit different way, not so much through through some of the same channels, as far as YouTube shows and whatnot. He's doing it, I guess, leading by example, just continuing to go around, opening up new spots, that are staying true to that whole hog cooking over wood, whether it's in South Carolina or now over in Alabama, soon to be Atlanta.
Ray, your thoughts on Rodney Scott?
I don't know Rodney, but I certainly know of him and know his story. And winning that Beard Award, that doesn't happen by accident. Clearly, you're doing some good stuff.
All right, Ray, let's stay with you. Darren Worth is rounding out the last three here.
I'll tell you what I said to these guys when we were talking about Darren. I said, if Tuffy belongs in the Hall of Fame, Darren belongs in the Hall of Fame. I mean, Darren has just killed it in the barbecue world like nobody else. And he's also got a hugely successful couple of restaurants in Des Moines. And the other stuff, he doesn't choose to do much besides that. He's built this huge persona by sort of being a low-key guy. Darren has also become one of the most sponsored up guys, legitimate sponsors. Not I got a banner and a free brisket. Darren's got legit sponsor money coming in his pocket, and he's done a lot of stuff. I think he's a clear, legit candidate.
Adrian, do you know much about Darren Worth here?
No, I learned a lot about him through the nomination process, picking up grand championships all over the place, but I just didn't know much about him. But he seems like he's just one of the most successful people on the competition circuit, and I guess as a restaurateur as well.
Daniel, do you have a lot of knowledge on Darren?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first I'll just say that some of the only brisket that I really loved eating at the Jack Daniel's competition was the stuff that I ate off of Darren's smoker after I got done judging. So, I mean, you often hear how much different competition brisket is than restaurant brisket, but yeah. I really didn't enjoy his. But, I mean, just sort of what Ray said, if Tuffy's in, then certainly Darren's got to be in there. I mean, the guy's just such a incredible heavy hitter when it comes to big-time competition wins. And then the fact that he's got the restaurant going. I mean, if anybody if any of the naysayers out there about competition barbecue tell you that it's all just a crapshoot about whatever, it's just all about whatever judge's table your brisket or whatever tends to hit is what determines whether you're going to win or not. Just, I mean, look at the record of Tuffy Stone and Darren Worth, and that's going to tell you that it really does take some skill to be able to be a repeat winner like that.
Daniel, let's stay with you and talk a little bit about Leanne Whippet.
Yeah, very similar to the fact that she's just incredibly well-rounded. Has had that great success in the competition world. Also has that television presence and her multiple success on the restaurant front too.
Adrian, your thoughts on Leanne?
About the same. I didn't know much about her until I saw her on Barbecue Pitmasters, but it just seems to be knocking it out of the park in so many different aspects of barbecue.
Ray? You know Leanne a lot.
Yeah, Leanne's a really good friend of mine. So I wasn't going to necessarily go to bat for her because it would be because she's my friend, but she had a lot of support from around the room, and that made me feel good for her. Certainly deserving. She's got a big career in restaurants, and she's won some competition. She didn't cook as much as some of us did over the years, but she's got some legit wins along the way. And heck, she just won that Bobby Flay show last year. And Leanne, when you walk down the street with Leanne at a barbecue event, Leanne is a rock star. People are pushing me out of the way to hang out with Leanne. She's obviously better looking than me.
Yeah, I was going to say, no offense, Ray, but I'd push you out of the way, too.
Oh, you think that's why? Okay, I thought it was just because she was so well known. She is. I mean, the Pitmaster thing, Leanne was the cute blonde, and everybody knows her and loves her. I mean, it's great. I'm glad to see it. And her nomination was passionately written by her daughter. That was pretty great.
All right, last but not least, and we'll go with Adrian to start here, Meathead from AmazingRibs.com.
Yeah, I kind of think of him like Aaron Franklin. What I said about Aaron is the one thing that's really cool about Meathead is he's put out so much barbecue content that has just, raised the game for a lot of people who want to become barbecue cooks. There's so much information out there now, and he talks about the science of it, goes into the history. So he's just made barbecue much more accessible to so many other people.
Ray, your thoughts on Meathead?
I'm not familiar with him. I'm kidding.
Oh, my God. I'm sure he just had a heart attack and keeled over in Chicago. Oh, my God.
Now, the thing about Meathead is I like people that do it their way. And Meathead hasn't copied anybody in what he's done. He's making it up as he's going along, and it's all him. And the amount of content is just astronomical. He's a hard-driving guy. He definitely is in a class by himself, and I think he belongs on the list.
Daniel, your thoughts on Meathead as we close it out here?
Yeah, I mean, I was with Ray there for a second. I didn't even know this guy. I didn't know he was on this list. No, but I mean, come on, AmazingRibs.com. Like, how? I don't know if there can't be any other website out there that has taught more people how to cook in the backyard than Meathead. So I think just that alone and his contributions there is enough. But then, I mean, you add in the fact that he did that amazing book that takes a really just scientific look at cooking barbecue in all its forms. Really a great contribution to barbecue from the book and the website. And you put them together, and I mean, there just isn't anybody out there who's putting it all together like he is.
All right, so that is the 9 semifinalists. 3 of those will actually make it into the class of 2020. That'll be revealed exclusively here on this show Wednesday, the 27th at 3 p.m. Eastern. Before I let you guys go tonight, you know I'm going to go here. Daniel, we'll start with you. Give me the 3 that you would vote, hypothetically, to make it into the 2020 Barbecue Hall of Fame.
I think I asked you first.
Oh, I'm going to give you my shot. Don't worry. I think I'm the only motherfucker that's going to be talking real here tonight in about a second. But you go ahead.
Man, if I had my votes, I mean, if I'm picking one from each group, I'd have to go with Darren, Meathead, and Aaron Franklin.
Wow. All right. Adrian, you willing to pony up a hypothetical?
Now, I'm not as brave as Daniel. I'm from the world of politics, so I'm just going to say we have a beautiful list. A lot of great people. It's tremendous. And, we'll see how it goes.
Hey, Daniel, you know what we are on this show?
What's that?
Courageous. You coined it. That's what you said, Daniel. You said we're courageous on this show. And, all right, so Adrian is not courageous on the show. But Ray is going to be courageous, I know, because he's already a Barbecue Hall of Famer, and they can't take that away from him. So, hypothetically, who would your 3 be?
Well, I actually vote, so I think it's kind of wouldn't be appropriate for me to tell you who I voted for. But I can give you a little hint. I sort of like the guys that I look at some of these guys and I'm like, they're going to have another chance. And so I kind of lean more towards the guys that this is their big shot and girls. I can tell you. All right, I'll admit I'm voting for Desiree.
Hey, Daniel, what are we on this show?
We are courageous.
Motherfucking right.
I mean, you and I are.
Jesus.
So who's your 3?
All right, here we go. My 3 in no particular order. Of course, Meathead is going in. And by the way, Ray, to your point, Meathead's 70 years old, so it's not like he's a spring chicken, has got maybe 10 or 15 more years to just leg it out here. Meathead is a mold breaker. He is bringing barbecue and grilling to the masses. The likes nobody has ever seen. I understand he's using it via the internet, but he has capitalized on this, certainly bolstered by that best-selling book. He has also released any number of YouTube videos with some really hot co-host who I don't know what her name is, but congratulations for him. Even though he had to pay her, who cares? She was hot. And then he has also turned that website into a huge business. I'm not sure how profitable it is per se, but I know he's generating, a pretty substantial amount of money depending on how you're looking at that. He has a team of people that he pays. He has this Pitmaster Club that he's turned into a revenue source. So he continues to be someone who at every turn is pivoting and trying to make sure that he is leading the way in this regard. So Meathead makes it easily in my book. Next up, no questions and no qualifications needed. Desiree Robinson is in. As all of you guys said, I mean, she is a staple of the Memphis style of barbecue. I think when you think Memphis style barbecue, aside from the high level of, dry or wet ribs, you immediately go to Cozy Corner and you go to Rendezvous for the places that are just iconic Memphis places. And Desiree is certainly more than deserving. She should be in. And rounding it out for me, top 3, Darren Worth from Iowa Smoky D's. Look, the best competition barbecue cook ever. Let me say that again. Ever. Tuffy is in the Hall of Fame. Chris Lilly is in the Hall of Fame. Mike Mills is in the Hall of Fame. Melissa Cookston is in the Hall of Fame. Darren Worth should be in before any of those people. period. He's won more than any of them. The only thing that Darren hasn't won is Memphis in May, and I guarantee that if coronavirus 2020 wouldn't have happened, he would have had it in those crosshairs and probably had a pretty good chance of taking Memphis down. He tried it once last year. It wasn't that great. But give him another shot, maybe 3 shots. I think there's a pretty good shot that he takes Memphis. And then if he takes Memphis in May, then, oh, my God, I mean, he will have won every big competition, not to mention all of the other general barbecue competitions that he's won. Plus, as Ray said, and everybody else has alluded to, he's been very successful in the barbecue restaurant business, has a number of those, does a tremendous amount of catering, hires a lot of people there in the Des Moines area. Oh, by the way, does anybody realize the thousands and thousands of dollars this guy has given away, prize money that he has given away to various pediatric foundations, through some of the affiliations that he has, through like Big Papa Smokers when he has competed at various barbecue. He has donated back his winning checks. I'm sure he probably hates the fact that I'm talking about this, but nobody else is going to say. I mean, he is not just a competition cook. And oh, by the way, too, if you go talk to him, and Daniel, Ray, I'm sure you can attest to this, this isn't a guy that plays it close to the vest. He'll sit there and tell you everything he does. So he's not writing a book because he doesn't want to write a book, but he will tell you everything if you want to ask him, and if you want to pay attention and ask the right questions. He's not sitting there holding anything to the vest. He'll tell you whatever you want. So this guy, to me, is if those other guys and gals are in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, then there's no reason that Darren Worth wouldn't be in 2 weeks' time. Those are my 3. Thank you. Courageous. Courageous.
I just want to know, are you courageous enough to then take those 3 and text that to your friend Aaron Franklin and let him know who your finalists are?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Dan, we can't be courageous and then only be courageous sometimes. We either live courageous or we are pussies. Come on, what are we talking about?
Well, that's neato.
Yeah, totally neato. All right, here's who I'm talking to, for crying out loud. I'm talking with Daniel Vaughn. You can find him posting great stuff over at tmbbq.com. I have Adrian Miller right here as well, the soul food scholar. And, of course, I have Barbecue Hall of Famer Ray Lampe, drbbq.com. Guys, really appreciate you hanging with me here through 2 full segments, breaking this whole thing down and giving your thoughts. And we'll see what happens in 2 weeks' time. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. And
All
I
right, peace.
just want to say, Greg, real quick, that after that announcement happens, the nominations will reopen for next year. So if you feel like somebody got slighted this year, be sure to get that nomination in for next year.
That's right. All right, there they are. Ray Lampe, Adrian Miller, and Daniel Vaughn, all right there and all right here on this show, doing it live.
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live!
And going long. Wow. I don't know about you, but I think I made the most impassioned pleas of the night. I knew that some of those guys were going to weasel out. I mean, I don't want to hear about, well, I vote. Who cares? Tell me who you're voting for. Huge segment. Loved the segment. That was well worth it. And mostly I'm right. All the way back in the first hour, we talked with Meathead. We also talked about Meathead in the second hour quite a bit, but Meathead. And we also talked with Anthony Lejean and Rusty Monson, the Pitmasters podcast, talking about their experience at this past weekend's SCA event in Lehi, Utah. Safety, congregating, 6 feet, social distancing, all that. And then the second hour, Daniel Vaughn, Ray Lampe, and Adrian Miller joined me as we broke down the 9 semifinalists for the 2020 Barbecue Hall of Fame. And some of us even gave our hypotheticals. Should I be led to believe that Daniel doesn't vote? I mean, he's on the nominating committee. Maybe I'll text him. All right, I'm going to end the show, and then I'm going to text Aaron Franklin on who my 3 that I would vote for are going to be. Big show planned for you next week, of course. It is the third Tuesday, so we got Steven Reichland. We got Robin Lindars. We'll be 1 week away from the official announcement of the 2020 Barbecue Hall of Fame, so we're locked and loaded. Until I re-adjourn with you next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
This is Jimmy Burns from Malvern, Ohio, and you're listening to Barbecue Central.